Hello Internet, we're finally here. We are going back to the roots of all the GPU designs and its history. We are working on AGP graphics cards nowadays. 5090s are already outdated, so might as well do something that's actually interesting. So, two cards came in. Uh, I think they're both artifacting. I don't really know. Hopefully they both work. So from what I understand, nothing really breaks on these cards based on the experience of people that specialize in these repairs other than solder joints. But even with that, that's not likely to happen. It does happen, but it's not likely to happen because these older cards, they use leaded solder. So, but sometimes it does happen either way because people tend to reapply thermal putty, glue, whatever, and oftentimes these are not just placed on top of the core, but rather glued with a thermal adhesive. So they weren't designed to be serviced. But we're gonna try to figure out what's wrong with this thing today. Hopefully we can get it fixed. And but who knows? Basically, we'll see. We can start checking for data lines. This one's okay. I might as well check the other one while we're at it. This one's good too. So just one little flicker, probably a little bit of oxidation on the pad. Nothing major. Now let's power this thing on, see what it does. Actually, before we do that, we need to check for shorts. I do not recall what's what, but we're gonna have to figure this out. Basically, we don't want any short, so that's as easy as that. So do we have a ground anywhere on these pins? Yes. So do we have any short on any of these capacitors? No, we do not. What about the fan? No short on the fan. What about these coils here? 24. Don't know what that is. Could be memory. Some caps here. No short here. No short here. No short here. Okay. These big capacitors next to the memory chips. 3.3 here somewhere. I don't remember where. But I doubt we have any shorts. So the next thing to look would be to look around the card. Chances are something's probably knocked off the board. So let's go and have a look. So we're basically, if we're not finding any damaged, ripped off component, what we're looking for is any kind of signs of damage, such as this capacitor here. You can see the corners of it a little bit chipped off, so that's an indicator that something hit here. So we could probably suspect the chip on the other end of this. We're also looking for any kind of damages of the traces. Those could be a little bit difficult to detect with all the reflections on the surface. So if you see any kind of little tiny scratch, pay close attention to that and make sure that the trace is actually not cut. In this case, it's nearly impossible to tell. It looks like this trace could be cut. Looks like the traces are actually okay and that the cut was just on the mask. A little bit of water or alcohol will kind of allow you to see through the coating of whatever it is that's on the board. So that's one way to see through the mask. Looks like there's more trace that potentially damaged. One of them appears to be, if not all of them, are data traces. Don't know. Let's put some alcohol and see. Yeah, you can see there's actually potential for the damage of these traces, especially the one that's on the left. Not so much the other ones, but the one on the left could definitely use a little bit of touch up. So let's touch that up, make sure that it's not ripped. So all I want to do is I want to buff it out just a little bit, exposing the trace, and put some solder on it. I could do this with the razor blade, but yeah, that trace looks like it was about to break in half, so it could be damaged, possibly, I don't know. So we're gonna just apply a little bit of solder on it, just a tiny little drop, and that should fix that. I think that looks good. Wipe it off. Yeah, that looks like a fixed trace to me. So I don't think that trace was completely disconnected from one end to another, but regardless, that way we don't have any questions to it. So let's continue on looking for more trouble, such as this chip here that's a little bit knocked off. We can, and as well as this resistor here, it looks like it might be damaged, so we can just reflow this real quick. You can see a little bit of knockoff damage on this resistor too. I don't think it would be broken, it's just needs a little reflow. That should take care of that, and continue on looking for more trouble. This capacitor here looks like it's cracked. Hard to say. I'm gonna check and see if it's short, and it is not short, but I wonder why does it look like it's cracked. And I do not know what that capacitor would be. We can probably look it up on the donor board if we have one. Yeah, this capacitor is definitely broken in half, and I don't know what that capacitor is. So we can check the function of this capacitor, checking and seeing if maybe one end of it is ground. Yes, so one end of this capacitor is ground, so it's most likely a filtering capacitor, so we're not gonna worry about it. So let's look for some more. Either way, that capacitor crack indicates that there may have been a drop or something hit the cord at some point, especially near the chip. So we're gonna be pressing on the chip to see if it changes anything. You can see here we have a little bit of shaving on top of that resistor here as well. So definitely something happened near this chip that could potentially damage the chip. So continue on looking around for more trouble. A very strange solder blob here. Alright, let's flip this thing over and look at the front of the board. See if we can find anything there. Okay, so nothing too obvious at the front, but I want to remove the cooler because a lot of times damage could actually be under there. Not under the cooler, but around the core, and the cooler is just covering it up. So let's do that real quick. Alright, I didn't see any damage under the cooler. The traces look okay, so, but this was indeed taken apart before. This is not original here, so we need to clean that up, and we can probably look at the corners of the GPU die and see if it's cracked or anything like that, just to make sure that we're not wasting our time here. But since it's been taken apart, given the nature of how this thing is disassembled, most likely we're gonna need to reflow the core at the very least. We could go for a reball, but it's got leaded solder on there already, so there's really no need. And the die looks okay. I don't see any of the components knocked off on the top of the chip. So, but we're still jumping too far ahead of ourselves here. Probably want to do some kind of a basic test, at least get it powered, and see if we have all the voltages, and then try to run some tests to confirm that it isn't in fact artifacting. So let's do that, see how it goes. Here's my AGP tester that I built myself. Fortunately, I think I have a 5 volt and a 3.3 volt buck converters here, so yeah, not pretty. Alright, let's see what it does when we power it on. We're gonna look at it with the thermal camera so we can spot any kind of overheating if there's any. Haven't done this in a while, not sure if it's gonna work or not. I hope so. Alright, so the fan is spinning and we're pulling half an amp. It looks like things are warming up. So I guess we can probably start looking for voltages, see what we can get out of this. So 12, 5, 3.3, 1.6, 1.6, 4.6, 3.4, 1.6, whatever that is, 3.1, 2.8, 3.1, whatever these voltages mean, I have no idea. 2.8, 0.2, don't know what that is. 2 volt, okay. And the fan is 12. Okay, so looks okay. Who knows? I'll go ahead and plug it in. Before I do that, I probably want to wipe these off to eliminate any kind of data integrity related problems, and apply some good old gold guard. So interesting thing happened. My motherboard cannot boot with the card inserted. I also tried this one. Don't know why. I thought maybe the problem is similar on both cards, so I tried a working card. Before I even touched the slot, just like barely touched the slot of the motherboard with the graphics card, the motherboard booted by itself. and then it would not boot since. So I'm thinking maybe CPU was bad. Matter of fact, I removed the cooler from the CPU. Still see that the thermal paste was not spread, so because it was bone dry. So there wasn't enough pressure to spread it out. But either way, I don't know what's dead, the motherboard or the CPU. So I'm gonna try a different CPU, and if that doesn't work, then the motherboard has died because I already disconnected all the peripherals. I tried the BIOS reset, I tried the new battery, and nothing works. It just keeps looping, and it just gives me a small little tiny beep, short beep like a chirp on the speaker. And it just keeps looping it over and over and over. So I have no idea what's wrong, but hopefully it's just a CPU. The CPU is like $7 plus just as much to get it shipped. But I ordered 2 different ones just in case to cover my back in the future. So who cares? Right, so I can't do anything else until I get that CPU. So for now, let's try to fix this EVGA 3080. 3080 something, 3080 Ti, yes. Don't know what's wrong with it. The customer did say that someone had tried to reball it twice and something isn't working right or something. I think it's completely dead. I also think we have a short on memory. I'm not sure. I did poke one of the coils to see what I could get, what kind of reading I'm getting, but I'm not 100% sure what coil that was, so I'm gonna have to take this thing apart and figure it out. My guess is that they either didn't reball the core whatsoever, just give it a reflow, the good old reflow, you know, the good old reflow that makes things worse. Every single time somebody tries to reflow the core, it makes things worse. There are too many things that go wrong with it. See, the thing is, if you attempt to reflow the core, you're not doing it on a perfectly flat board, and so what you end up doing is you're basically loosening the core, and then the core will not sit. The solder melts, and the core lifts off the board, and it will not sit properly anymore once you did a reflow, because the board is crooked from the very beginning, not from the factory, but from the day you got it. And so everything is sticky in here, nasty, dirty, knows what nasty, dirty reflow. This doesn't matter. Yeah, I think I was measuring this coil here and it was short, and I think we have a short on the memory. So yeah, no surprise there. No short on 1.8, so that's good. 5 is okay, 12 is good, it's good, 3 is there. So yeah, if they did a reflow, though I highly doubt it, some kind of mask repair here on the back, not exactly sure. Damage traces, now that makes me wonder if the data traces are actually registering. Yeah, so the traces for the data are registering it, so that's good. Maybe we won't have to do anything about that. But we are reading short on memory, and I kind of wonder if the customer lied about what was done to the GPU, or the people that did things to the GPU lied to the customer. And by the time it got to me, no one really knows the truth anymore. So we're gonna find out what's shorted on this thing, whether or not it has any kind of chance of survival at all. My guess is the short is inside the core, but who knows. So I'm not seeing anything warming up. We're pulling 2 amps on memory and nothing is warming up on the board. So what I can do is increase the amperage, however many, and my guess is we either going to see a glow inside of the core, which would definitely suck, which would mean that the core is dead. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And also I wanted to look at the core under a microscope, especially into its side. So it looks like it's a factory solder, lead free, so they did not reball anything, they just reflow and then clean things up and call it a day, thinking they would fix it. If you that kind of shop, please stop. So what are we getting? Yeah, the only thing that I can see that's warming up is the back of the core. If we look over here, you kind of start to see that it starts to warm up very slowly. So really no idea what could have possibly gone wrong here other than the reflow has failed. So I'm gonna have to lift the core at the very least and confirm on the core itself if the core is shorted on the memory rail or not, because I do not think we have any problems with the memory chips. Let's go ahead and get this core lifted, and hopefully the short will go away, and if it does, then I'm gonna have to probe the capacitors here on the top of the core. And if they reach short, then the core is dead. And that will be a sad day. So let's get that done and see what happens. Alright, so is the short gone? The short is not on the board. What about the core? 54 ohms. So that's a normal memory reading on the core, so reball the core, reball that chip, and solder it on, and hopefully that fixes the problem. Alright. The core is back on the board. Now, if we still have a short on the board, then that short could still potentially come from the core. Hard to say. Or it could come from that chip that I replaced. Well, I didn't replace that, I reballed it. So, but we'll see either way. I don't think we're gonna get a short. And we still have a short. So, oh. we weren't reading a short. We were reading a short on the NVBDD phase, because we were just reading low. The memory is actually here. Why was I measuring this coil? Who cares? The resistance is good, so this one's good. This one's good. Yeah, no short. So at this point, I don't even know why I had to reball this. I don't know. And I also don't think it was reflown or reballed ever before, though it looked like it was, but after I lifted the core, I did not see any kind of flux under there whatsoever. I do not think they cleaned it with ultrasonic. There was no visible sign of flux around the core. There was some a little bit under the core. That's usually there from the factory, you know, not a whole lot of it, but a little bit. And it also looked dirty, as if, you know, no one ever was there. So but we're pulling 2 amps, we're good on here. And I'm guessing this is what happens when I record and talk at the same time. See, I can't do 2 things at the same time. I can either talk or I can do the repair and not talk, and then talk later. That's why most of my videos I talk later. But regardless, I think it still needed to be reballed because the guy said it wasn't posting. So if it posts now, then we fixed the card by reballing it without even diagnosing it. So like we've saved some time with the diagnostics, and the card is posting. So just gonna go ahead, clean this up, put it all together. Not exactly sure what they did in here and why, but the data lines do check out. They do read, so we'll find out one way or another. And also, as you can see, I didn't even remove this LED pack here on the back when I was doing the reball. Yep, and nothing melted. I am that good. And the reason for that is I do this several times a day. So you kind of get a hang of it at some point. Not always. Sometimes I screw up. Not to a point where I kill something. So don't lose your confidence in me, is what I'm trying to say. Either way, I'm going to clean this thing up, put it all together. We're going to need new pads here. We're going to need new putty. If I'm not mistaken, all of the EVJs are the same. FT3W and this XC3, exact same setup. 1mm here, 2mm memory, and 2.25 or 2.5 on the driver MOSFETs. So I'll get that all replaced, and the card's gonna be just like new as usual. They bring me some pile of garbage that had been reflown, reballed by who knows what and who knows who, and they get it in a good condition, nice and clean, and runs cool, you know, just like new. And that's why I'm here. That's why they're paying me for. Either way, we'll go with the testing. Everything should be good. If not, we'll continue on troubleshooting. And that's it. From what I've seen, I don't think they reballed anything in here. Like, maybe that memory chip there, that looked like it could have been reballed, but I doubt they touched the core. And I just read the customer's notes. He said some shop had reballed the core twice, but I haven't seen it. So I didn't see a single reball on this core, and I'm guessing that they probably reballed this chip at the bottom that was causing the errors here, but the problem was actually under the core, or it could have been under both, but they only took care of one because, you know, I mean, who wants to reball cores other than me? Either way, goodbye.